Ducks.
Welcome back to the Bigfoot Beverages Studios. It's the Jerry's Home Improvement Game Day Show pregame edition as we get ready for game week. The Jerry's Home Improvement Game Day Show is brought to you in part by Sun Automotive. Sun Automotive, the best service under the sun. So let's check in with our Oregon and Oregon State correspondents as we get ready for week one.
This is your report from both sides of the pond. Get it? Ducks, beavers, both sides of the pond? Okay, fine. I'll stick to dad jokes.
We now welcome in Max Torres of Ducks Digest in on the Oregon Man Clinics hotline. Max, thanks for being with us again this week, and we're just going to dive right into some Oregon recruiting, which I know you love.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Justin. Always excited to be back. Always a good time to talk some Duck recruiting.
Let's start off with the 2024 four-star linebacker, Braden Platt. You had him predicted to Oregon since July, but what's the latest with him?
Yeah, so the latest was Braden Platt, 2024 inside linebacker out of Yelm, Washington. He's actually looking to announce his college commitment on Monday afternoon. He is going to be announcing his decision between the Oregon Ducks and the Oklahoma Sooners. If you guys want to tune into that, you can do that on the 247 Sports YouTube channel. Like I said, Monday, September 4th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And I'm really liking where Oregon stands here, Justin, for Braden Platt. I really don't think that anything's changed too much for me since I made that pick back in July. Oregon has really done a good job just recruiting him for a long, long time. Oklahoma did enter the picture late, so this is one of those situations where Oregon has geography on its side with a high-level prospect coming out of the state of Washington. And Platt's taken a number of trips to Eugene, loves the staff, speaks highly of them every time I talk to him. And I think he's a really special player that would be a great addition to this class.
You gave out an Oregon prediction this week for four-star Seattle running back named Jason Brown Jr. What led to that prediction, and what would his commitment mean to the Ducks and their future at the running back position?
Yeah, Jason Brown Jr. is another top guy out of the state of Washington, and another name that Oregon fans are probably pretty familiar with if they've been following recruiting for some time. Jason Brown Jr., part of what led me to that pick. He recently dropped a top 3. So pretty notable step in his recruitment. That top 3 was Oregon, Washington, and Michigan State. Still don't have a commitment date just yet for Jason Brown Jr., but for my money, this is an Oregon versus Michigan State battle. I think that Washington isn't much of a player in this one just because they haven't done a great job recruiting the players in their backyard, which is even stranger with a guy like Jason Brown Jr. out of Seattle. But I think that we saw a couple of dominoes fall recently. Nate Frazier, a top running back out of Modern Day, announced his commitment to Georgia. So when you kind of see something like that happen, you got to reshuffle the pieces a little bit. And Jason Brown Jr. is a guy that's been really high on the Ducks. Spoke pretty highly of his relationship with running backs coach Carlos Lachlan. And I think that he would be a really solid addition to this class because of some of the pieces they already have in place. You have Dejon Riggs out of Washington, D.C., kind of a thunder and lightning combination is what I see if Brown does end up being a Duck. I think there is still a little bit of ways to go here, but he has taken his official visit to Michigan State. Wouldn't be surprised if he popped up in Eugene for an official visit. So I think just the relationships really are what led me to this pick. And again, the location, Oregon's going to prioritize those guys in the Pacific Northwest if they believe that they're capable of contributing to the program. So we'll have to see what ends up happening here with Jason Brown Jr. I think the only thing that maybe gives me a little bit of pause, like I said, this isn't a done deal, is going to be just what Oregon wants to do at the running back position in 2024. Bucky Irving and Noah Whittington could very well be on their way to the NFL. So since they already have one running back committed from the high school ranks, we'll have to see if they choose to go maybe weigh their options in the transfer portal or if they want to take a prep guy. But I'm thinking if they want a prep guy, Jason Brown Jr., explosive guy, twitchy guy, talented playmaker and speedy guy. I think he's their guy.
Max Torres of Ducks Digest joining us here on game day. Max, it looks like the Ducks are going after another modern-day recruit. This time it's wide receiver Marcus Harris, who just put Oregon in his top 12. You got a chance to speak to him recently. What did you learn from talking to him?
Yeah, so I did speak with him actually back in the spring, but that was one of those cool moments, Justin, where I was like, well, I do remember talking to him. Let me scroll through my interviews, and I asked him about Oregon. So it may not be the freshest quote,
okay, gotcha.
but I think a lot of that still applies. As far as Marcus Harris, he spoke really highly of Dan Lanning, Junior Adams, Colin Lockett, who is working with the running backs, used to be working with the receivers at Oregon. He actually used to coach at St. John Bosco, so that's a Southern California tie. He spoke highly of Rashad Wadood, who has just been instrumental in Oregon's surge and really dominance in the Southern California area, Dakota Fields, Roger Pleasant, guys like that. But as for Marcus Harris, I think with him, including Oregon in his top 12, it's still a ways to go in that recruitment. But what stands out to me about Marcus Harris is just his ability as a playmaker. I think Mater Dei is obviously a loaded team, but he's one of those guys that manages to stand out. Looking at his stats from a season ago, 644 yards on 25 catches for 12 touchdowns. So you're seeing that good production and a relatively balanced attack that the Monarchs like to deploy on offense with the Stanford quarterback commit Elijah Brown. So I think Marcus Harris is a guy that Oregon could very well have a good shot with as things kind of start to narrow down. But you got some big-time schools like Georgia and Texas also in the mix there. So still a ways to go, and the Ducks already have a couple of wide receivers committed this class. 5-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson out of Florida, and then you also have Adrian Wilson out of Texas. So I think wide receiver is going to continue to be a priority for them, but I'm even more interested to see what they're going to be able to do finishing at that position in the 2024 cycle.
You mentioned Dallas Wilson. He recently earned 5-star status. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, Dallas Wilson, not anything super new as far as him on the recruiting trail. I mean, he is Oregon's headliner in this 2025 recruiting class that only has 4 commitments. But I was talking to one of my connections in the Oregon circle, and he was telling me the other day, man, that's a 5-star guy. This is back before he got bumped up, but he's really a special talent. 27 offers committed to Oregon back in January. And I think the story with him was an interesting one, Justin, because he was pretty outspoken about, if I get that Oregon offer, I'm committing, kind of like something right out of NCAA football, right? So I think things are looking good with Dallas Wilson. Anytime you have a guy committed from Florida, it's going to be really tough to hold off some big-time competition. But if you can get him back on campus for a game or two this season, I think you're in good shape. But anytime you have a commitment from a top guy like this, it's a good thing.
Who are some other potential recruits that Oregon fans should be looking out for right now?
Yeah, some other recruits. We can keep it a little bit more current in the 2024 recruiting class. Maybe a couple of offensive linemen. Jordan Seaton is a big offensive lineman that is actually playing at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Was teammates with 2024 Oregon running back commit Dejon Riggs. So we'll see if they would maybe want to team up at the next level. But he's one of the best offensive linemen in the country, and Alik Terry is working on rounding out that offensive line class here in 24. He is supposed to reportedly visit Oregon for the USC game in November, so that's a significant development. And then Eddie Pierre-Louis is another guy that you want to keep an eye on. He's a 6'3", 330-pound offensive lineman, and if you've seen this guy on Twitter, he can run, he can sprint. So he projects more so along the interior, and I think it's Oregon and Oklahoma are some schools that are really heavily involved here, and we'll see if he can get out to a visit for a game this fall. He's been to Oregon before, so I think rounding out that offensive line is a priority. And then one more name I'll give you, Justin, is Sione Laulea. He is the #1 junior college prospect in the 2024 class out of College of San Mateo. He's a 6'4", 185-pound corner, has been to Oregon before, took an official visit in June, and now he's down to USC, Oregon, and Miami. has a teammate from College of San Mateo committed to Miami. So we'll see if that has any weight or significance in his recruitment. But he's a special player, West Coast guy. I think he's a big name that Oregon fans want to keep an eye out on in this 24 class that is kind of slowly starting to go towards the finish line, just about 4 months out from signing day.
Always new things going on in recruiting, it seems. Max Torres, you always have the latest. Thank you for coming on and taking the time to be here today, Max.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Justin. Appreciate it.